Hello and welcome, reloading enthusiasts. In this video, I invite you to join me as I attempt to reload 10mm for a Glock 20. This is both the first time I've owned or attempted to reload this caliber. This is not a guide or tutorial in any way. I am not a reloading expert. I simply enjoy the hobby and I enjoy making videos. If you like the sights and sounds of firearms as much as I do, you'll probably enjoy this video start to finish, as I've tried to take great care in the attention to detail of quality. Not that everything will be as it should be in a perfect environment, it's the best I got. On the table before you, you see pretty much everything that I'll be using as far as tools, accessories, and items. I do plan on casting my own bullets for this Glock, even though I know that the barrels they use do not agree with cast lead bullets. I'm hoping to overcome this with a few coats of powder. We'll find out in the end of the video if that made a difference. I was certainly excited to see the available powders for cast lead bullets in 10mm. I own two of the ones on this chart and have readily available the others. This Lee kit I purchased can reload 40 Smith & Wesson and 10mm. For my casting lead, I'll be using a Magnum shot. This makes the melting process rather easy, and the shot should already have hardener in it. Although I don't have a way to verify that, as I can't test the hardness of my bullets. So I'll also be supplementing in some of this 50/50 tin lead alloy. It's bar solder I purchased off of Amazon. So this being fresh factory brass from Starline, I'm going to go ahead and size it. I don't know that you have to size this brass as it comes out of the factory. I assume it's already within specs, and I didn't really see any defects on the case mouths or dents as you sometimes see with larger calibers. They get kind of dinged up in transit, so you can size them to iron most of that out. So I'm just sizing these mainly for consistency, just to be sure. About a year ago, this bar stool setup of mine made its debut on my channel, and believe it or not, still using it. It's had multiple thousands of rounds of ammunition run through it, and I simply added some L brackets to the legs to give it a little more rigidity. Other than that, it's just a bar stool. It's really nice because, well, you can drill a hole in the bottom and plug it with a paper towel, and you can hang shop rags off of the little support beams for convenience. The reloading tool I'm using is something I fell in love with a while back. It's the Lee Ram Prime, and RCBS has one too. These are so cheap. I think they're like $12 on Amazon and Midway, but I went ahead and just bought two of them for two reasons. I'll have spare parts because they have small springs and small cups that you can lose, and each one comes with a large cup and a small cup. Not that it's difficult to change them out, but I find sometimes when I'm reloading things like 45 ACP, you'll run into a piece of brass that has a small primer pocket when you've been reloading large primer pockets. So I just bought two of these sets, labeled one large and labeled one small, and I just have them both so I can grab them and swap them out real quick on the press without having to deal with the small springs. Either way, I've had nothing but success with this. And as a side note, I chose silver or nickel-plated brass simply to make it easier to find my brass in the grass at the gun range. 10mm cheap brass to buy, but you won't really find other people leaving it behind. Throughout the video, you'll see me kind of looking a bit clumsy with some of these processes. That's simply because the cameras are in the way. This is really a streamlined process once you get into the groove. but to make sure you guys got a good angle, I had to sacrifice some speed. For cleaning my mold, I'm just going to use brake cleaner. It's really fast, it blasts most of the oil off by itself, and then a toothbrush and a cloth to wipe off whatever's left over. It's volatile, so it dries very quickly and just makes everything real convenient. I purchased the 2-cavity mold instead of the 5, just in case this particular bullet does not agree with my 10mm. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to casting. All the processes you're seeing are in order. This being the first time I've ever used this mold and a bottom pour casting pot, probably took me about 15 tries before I got solid castings to drop. I'm lubricating the mold with aluminum anti-seize. I put it on the pins and the top between the mold and the sprue plate to keep it from galling the metal. I'm smoking the mold with a couple of matches. It's quick, easy, only takes a couple of seconds, maybe a minute. A few matches does the trick. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in my tin lead mix. And we're going to flux it with some dry sawdust. Make sure you get dry sawdust and you don't accidentally get sawdust from fresh cut wood, because that'll have a lot of moisture in it. Moisture plus lead, hot lead, is bad. I'm using dry sawdust. I believe I saw one reloading channel use it. It was a big one. I think it was Fortune Cookie 45. It was definitely somebody I trusted. And it definitely works really well. That was a lot of definitely, sorry. It works really well. When you mix it up into the lead and then you pour out, you basically just scoop it out of the top. The top of your pot is shiny and clean. It's pretty. Alright, here's my literal first attempt at casting 10mm. And did not drop the first one very nice. As I expected, it wouldn't. It took me a little bit to get used to this setup, as before I'd just been using a small pot with a ladle. And although this is not a tutorial, here's a good tip for quickly drying off your bullets so you can get them to the powder coat stage. I put them in an old sock and rock them back and forth a bunch of times. After about a minute, they're completely dry to the touch, and it adds a really neat effect to the bullets. It gives them kind of a factory tumbled effect with dents and divots all over. With a practical use, it actually holds onto the powder coat better. Now, I know if you're watching this a few months after it published, it's nowhere around Christmas time. Seeing Christmas videos and reloading can be kind of off-putting while you're sweating in the middle of July. I would like to take this opportunity to say Merry Christmas to all my viewers who are just now watching the video. Here's our first and probably only snow that we got in central Louisiana, so I had to make sure I got it recorded. Enjoy this brief intermission. Now, wasn't that pretty? Moving on, we're starting with the case flaring of the mouth and the charging. I went ahead and omitted the powder coating process simply because there wasn't anything I could visually make interesting in the video. It's messy, it's clumsy, my process is unrefined but effective, and that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Powder on the bullets, put them in an oven, bake them, we're done. Now, I'm using 5.6 grains of red dot in this particular starting load, which is 0.1 grain above the starting load in my manual. I did this simply because I'm not interested in working up a precision load at the moment, just something I know that's going to function. Lyman's never let me down, but nowhere near max charge, of course. If you haven't seen any of my recent reloading videos, this is the Lee Auto Prime, or Auto Disc Prime, something like that. I always forget the name. It's a very accurate tool. And essentially what's happening here is the case is being flared and the powder is being charged at the same time. For seating the bullet, after setting the die to the recommended maximum overall length in my manual, I go ahead and test fit in the barrel. You hear how it's kind of a thud, and now it's a ting. You can hear the difference between the thud and the high-pitched ting. Once you hear that ting, you know that the case mouth is contacting the edge of the chamber, and it should seat properly into the chamber every time. If you hear that low-pitched thud and you don't go any deeper, then your bullet is essentially contacting the lands. Now, this is just something I've learned with my own personal experience. Don't take it for granted that that's the correct way to do it. It's just the way I've been doing it, and it seems to be working. It allows you to essentially get a very precise maximum overall length for your particular pistol.
I walk the streets of New Orleans with a girl of my dreams. I've seen a dozen brass bands play and swing while little children laugh, dance and sing. I've seen old men drunk singing the blues with top hats and canes and spectators' shoes. I consider myself lucky to have fallen in love with a girl, the city, and the river of mud. Let me know, let me know where I can go to save my soul. Let me know where I can go to save my soul, where I can go.
Another process I omitted because you couldn't visually see it on the camera is I added a very, very mild crimp. Only enough to remove any excess flare the case mouths might have had. Not really enough to affect the seating depth of the round in the chamber. All right, this round I'm going to see where the brass goes. All right. Hopefully they'll all land in the same spot. It's like it's windage is good, but the elevation's a bit high. I'm going to play 3 slow-mo clips. Now, I'm next to a corrugated steel building. It has a weird effect on the audio. But one of these rounds is going to have a very distinctive sound that you're going to know exactly what it is. This next round, listen to the pitch of the bullet flying through the air. Did you hear that fluttering? I'm sure you know exactly what that was. That one sounded normal. All right, let's go check out our target. All right. Brass ejection looks pretty consistent. I see them all in about a 3-foot circle. A few flyers out in the distance, nothing unusual to me. Most of those shots were for functionality. I wasn't concentrating too hard. But I was basically trying to aim for this. This is 25 yards on a rest. Now I can't tell if these are through the same hole 2 shots or if that's a keyhole, but that looks like a keyhole to me. That was 16 shots in total, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, we got some keyholes. That's a shame. There are other things I can try to do. This is only my first test, first time ever trying to reload 10mm stock Glock barrel. I was hoping that maybe with the 2 coats of powder that the barrel would agree with the rounds. I guess it doesn't. I really want to be able to cast bullets for 10mm, but I think I'm going to have to buy an aftermarket barrel. It's not too bad, but they're not exactly cheap. We're just going to go ahead and send the rest of these down and just make sure functionality is good. I should be pushing these out just a hair over 1,000 feet per second according to the Lyman's manual with this load, because the Lyman's manual, red dot, 5.4 grains is the starting load for this bullet, and it's punching out at 1,080 feet per second with their test barrel. This is a 5.6 grains, so it's a little bit above starting, well under full power. So I imagine that this is pushing out probably about 1,100. I don't know. I'll get a chronograph one of these days. But it's not kicking as nearly as bad as I thought it would. There's a failure to feed. Failure to feed. Turn these on so I can hear myself talk. This is a lot more fun to shoot than I thought it would be. Another failure to feed. Oh, double feed. Maybe these rounds are not as stout as I thought they should be. Definitely feel stout. I'll save this one for the ammo collection. I don't have a 10mm yet. Now I do. All right, a full round of full mag of 15. Looks like I'm seeing mostly hits and no keyholes. I don't see any new ones. There were 3 last time, and I still see 3. We'll find out when we get closer. Here we go, last 15 rounds. All 15, no problems. In case you're curious for whatever reason, this is just straight out of the box shooting with whatever factory lube Glock has on it. I didn't clean it or anything. First time the magazines were ever loaded. I've actually never had a problem with Glocks feeding factory rounds right out of the box, but we went straight to reloads. Let's go look at our target and then shoot a couple factory rounds from Underwood. Bit more punch to those ones. Okay, this is Underwood's 10mm, obviously. 180 grain, jacketed hollow point, 1240 feet per second. So it's a heavier bullet than what I was shooting, and it's pumping out a good bit faster. It's a nasty little round. Let's see what we can do. We're just going to shoot 10 rounds. Stuff's kind of expensive. Kind of. This stuff is expensive. Also, before I shoot these rounds, let's take a look at this barrel. Probably not going to be able to show it in the camera. These are wide-angle lenses. Yep, that's definitely fouled. I mean, it's not horrible. I'm making it sound dramatic, but the powder coat is it's definitely coated on the inside a little bit. All right, well, my Glock 9mm uses the powder coat rounds without any problems and any fouling. The 10mm, I mean, you're really punching that bullet out with a lot more pressure and a lot faster. So just not going to work, I guess, for me, unless there's something I'm missing. I'm not going to give up on it, but we're going to have to definitely try something different. Let's punch these through and see if it cleans out the barrel. That's got a bit of kick. I pulled that one. I flinched so bad. feel pretty good about that, but let's find out where they hit. These are all just mixed up with the other ones. Well, I'm gonna have to put the before and after pictures side by side because I don't know where the hell they are. I swear. I was aiming straight for that bullseye, but I mean, hell, I might have been flinching like crazy. I see these off to the side. There's no way that was the factory rounds. All right, I should be putting X's wherever they hit in the video because I don't see it. And for whatever it's worth to you, looks like those factory rounds had no problem cleaning most of the fouling out of the barrel. I generally shoot a few factory rounds after lead bullets or powder coated bullets at the end of the day because it just makes cleaning a heck of a lot easier. As far as pressure signs is concerned, I didn't see any with my amateur eyes. On the right is the Underwood cases, and on the left is my Starline brass. Both appear to have about the same amount of bulging at the edge of the case where the chamber is unsupported. I'm told this is normal, especially on high-powered rounds. And as far as the primer is concerned, my reloads were slightly less flattened than the Underwoods, telling me that I'm well within safe margins. So in summary, unfortunately, these rounds were rather disappointing, them actually being the most inaccurate caliber I've ever reloaded. I'm sure a lot of that was me, as I'm very poor with pistol accuracy at 25 yards, much better with a rifle, as most of us are. However, I'm not going to give up on it fully. I'm ordering a Lone Wolf barrel and some aftermarket sights as we speak to help both improve my accuracy and the performance of the cast lead rounds. While I'm waiting for those items, I'm going to try an extra coat of powder, a sizing die to put them at 0.400 instead of 0.401, which is what they're dropping at. With the powder coating, I should be okay to do that. I'll also try a few different alloy mix, maybe some harder lead, some more tin might do the trick, and a different powder. I have some tight group I can try as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video.